Welcome back to the Management Diary. This is where we get to have serious conversations on career, research, lifestyle, and scholarship. And if by chance you've clicked this video, of course, I want to tell you, you are in the right place. This is where we get to tell you all the necessary information you need to understand about different types of scholarship. And to you as a potential listener, we want to say that we are here to tell you more about the Erasmus Mundus Scholarship. In this conversation, we are hosting Laurine Owino. She's a master's candidate, and she's going to share her story. Of course, it's not just about the story, but about how you are going to make a successful application as well. She's currently pursuing a master's in cybersecurity. But before we begin the conversation, I just wanted to thank you for continuing to support us. And of course, this is where we get to host scholars. So it means we will always have all and new updates regarding different scholarships. And if you want to join our family and be part of us as we are continuing to build this strong system, please consider hitting the subscribe button. I also want to remind you that you can now transfer money internationally using Wise Payment. Check the first comment to get all the necessary details about Wise. Laurine, how are you?
I'm doing well. Enjoying the summer so far. The sun, they say the sun in Europe hits different. So it looks good in photos, but it's very hot. Like we thought Nairobi's sun of 27 degrees Celsius is hot. When you come here and it's 30 degrees and you're like, oh my God.
Somebody tried to explain to me that sometimes it comes with the humidity aspect of it. So it is humid and hot, so you feel like you're boiling.
I can't tell you the scientific behind it, but just know it's hotter.
Now, what is your perspective about Europe so far?
I'd say there's a lot of differences. There's a lot of things that I like and a lot of things that were all of a sudden different for me. But it's a good place to live, even if not forever, but it's a good place to experience once in your lifetime.
You know, when we say Erasmus Mundus is one of them. Like, when I think about prestigious scholarships, Erasmus is among the top in that list. And there are a lot of people who have been through this scholarship, and you can see what they have transitioned to become later in life. You really acknowledge that it's a good opportunity. And then, not always that people get to understand what Erasmus is. Now that we have you as a scholar on the program, could you please tell us, what do you think is Erasmus Mundus to you as a person and generally to somebody else who is just meeting Erasmus Mundus for the first
time? So I'd say when I was starting my application, like for my master program, I was looking at what is the field first that I want to do. Then once I said I'm doing cybersecurity, I was like, okay, let me look at all the available scholarships that I can find. And that's how I landed on Erasmus. And being that I had been in Kenya my whole life, I was like, oh, 3 countries. I definitely want to do this. So generally, I just, let me just explain a bit of what it is, then how that means, what it means to me. So as you have mentioned, Erasmus is one of the big scholarships and it is funded by the EU. So basically it's like a consortium of universities come together. They decide this is the master's course. It will either be 1 year or 2 years. Most of them are 2 years, but I've seen 1 year masters as well. They decide this is the course, then they apply for funding to the EU. So you'll find all of the courses will have at least 3 institutions in 3 different countries. And for me, for example, my scholarship is in France, a bit in Estonia, and I'll be going to my second year soon in Belgium.
Well, you did a bachelor's degree in electrical and electronics engineering, which is actually a very nice program. And then now you decided to specialize at a master's level in cybersecurity. You actually mentioned that you followed, there's these 2 types of approaches. Either you pick the program and then you choose funding that accepts the program, or you choose funding and then find the program that is accepted by that funding. So you are very specific about the program you want to do, right?
Yes.
Now, having been through this process and you realized as a cybersecurity master's level, you are going to be part of the Erasmus program. Does it mean that everybody else is going to be in cybersecurity and tech, or who is eligible to be part of the Erasmus program?
So, as I mentioned, Erasmus is like a consortium of universities come together. They apply for funding for a particular course. And when they apply for funding, they have to like do this. This is what the course is about. This is what problem it's solving in the SDGs and what have you. So Erasmus is not just in cybersecurity. So when you apply for it, you'd find the main website of the Erasmus will give you a catalog of like, I think 100 courses. So different universities in different fields, make consortiums and apply for the program and apply for funding. So for example, I'm doing cybersecurity, but that's just one bit of it. There's people doing public health. There's people doing nanotechnology. There's people doing communication, like all different courses. There's a lot of different courses. It's not tied to one field. So how it works is you go to the catalog, for example, and say, you can search by country, by area of what you want to learn. So, for example, when I went to the catalog, you'll get the main details. So this is how Erasmus generally works. It gives you funding for this and this. It will be in these countries. This is how it works. Then you have access to the catalog. When you go to the catalog, now you can search. For example, if you search for cybersecurity, at that time when I searched for cybersecurity, there were 3 courses that were in cybersecurity. So you go to each of those courses, like the consortiums will have their own website that will now give you more information. This is how you apply. This is the time when you apply. These are the things you require. But generally, they require almost the same things. But you'll be applying, say you want to apply for 5 courses, you'll be applying for them differently. Like you won't just do one Erasmus application. We'll go to each of the websites and do 5 different applications. So I think in conclusion, or generally what I'm saying is it's not tied to one field. There's a lot of fields because I've spoken to people that are going to do architecture. I've spoken to someone who's doing public health. I was speaking to someone who's looking into communication, I think, and data science. So it's really wide.
You see, I don't know if there's a restriction. I know actually, but it's good if we mention, is there a restriction for the country in which you should be coming from? And so, as you answer that, what level of grades do I expect to get? I mean, because some scholarships, which are merit-based, they're going to tell you come with a first class and first class on. Yeah. Does it mean that I also need a strictly a first class to be part of Erasmus?
So, countries, I know most countries are allowed to do the course, but most websites will give you these are the countries that are not allowed. And it's a few countries, and a lot of times the countries that have problems with the EU. So I think, for example, for my course, I saw like Russia and a few other countries didn't have. But just to give you an overview of how this works, my course has like 32 nationalities. We're 40, and I'm like around 45 in our class, and it's 32 different nationalities. So from Africa, from Asia, from everywhere. So it's not tied, oh, this is an African scholarship or from this particular countries. But the course itself will give you a few countries that are not allowed to do the course. But most countries usually are allowed. So when I was also applying for the course, one of the things that I was looking for was that because I didn't have a first class, I had a second class upper. I was looking at courses that would allow me to do the course. So, for example, I know Chevening will tell you they want a first class. So that's one of the reasons I didn't even look at it. I was like, I know I could apply for it, but I'm reducing my chances of getting it. So you're still going to need good grades, but most of them will ask you for a second class upper or above. Normally what they write is a is that a colon? One. So right. 2, which means second class upper. So most of them will ask you for second class upper. But again, how I told you, it's different consortiums. A lot of them will also ask you for other things. So for example, the course that I did, they asked that you go to your university and have a letter that says you're in the top 10% of your class or something. But generally, most of them ask for second class upper and above.
Now, as we are talking about this, I noticed you graduated in the year 2021. I don't know if I should say just yesterday, or is it too far away? How do you
It is quite far away. 2021 is a long time ago.
Okay, let me accept that. So you graduated a very long time ago, which is the year 2021. By the way, we are recording this conversation in September of 2025. So you can do the math how long that is. And you started your master's in September 2024.
Mm-hmm.
Between these two periods, what are you doing?
Okay. So when I finished my bachelor's degree, I finished in 2021, actually the end of 2021. So 2022, when you got to 2022 January, I was just done with school. So I knew in my mind at that time that I did want to do a master's, but just after school, getting into the market after doing some internships, I felt like there was a disconnect between what I'm learning and what I think the industry was about. So my decision was to go to the industry for a number of years. My aim was 2 years. I ended up being away for like 2.5 or almost 3 years. But my aim was to take 2 years break just to see what is in the industry, so that when I decide to pursue a master, I know what I'm dealing with. Because I felt just after I finished my degree, I felt like I understood what I learned. I enjoyed the course, but I'm not sure how I'm supposed to apply it. So I thought, let me get to the industry for a bit, just understand how exactly is technology working in the space. And so like after I know that, now I can decide what should I pursue for my master. Because at that time I knew I wanted to do a master, but I wasn't sure what exactly I wanted to do for my master.
Well, that I asked that question specifically because it leads me to the next one. Does it mean that everybody should be having experience to be part of Erasmus? And what should be in my CV generally as I'm applying? You may want to bring out the aspect of, I remember somebody mentioned something to do with the Europass. I don't know if that's to do with Erasmus. So that's in my CV. And what is this whole saga about the CV?
Okay, so the path that I took is not similar to everyone's path. And for me, my path was advantageous because I did a degree in electrical and electronics engineering. I'm doing a master in cybersecurity. They're all in technology, but they're not directly linked to each other. So my decision to do the master in cybersecurity was because I had worked in cybersecurity for some time and I thought that I liked the field. So my course is actually like with a specialization in IoT, which is Internet of Things, which is in a way related to electronics. So that's why I decided to take it, because for me it felt like a merging of both my backgrounds, that is the electrical engineering that I did and the cybersecurity that I've been working in. But when you're applying for this scholarship, it does not require you to have work experience. What they actually want you to have is a bachelor's degree. So either you finished it or you are finishing it in that year that you're applying to. And of course, Europe, when you apply for the things, they'll ask for the Europass CV that you mentioned. So the Europass CV is just a format of the CV, because right now when you look at CVs, everyone formats it differently.
Yeah. So
Europass CV is just a method of formatting CVs that the European Union seems to prefer. But I should mention that in my class, there's, for example, me that had worked for some time. There's a few people that had also worked. There's also people that just finished their undergraduate and went directly into the master. So what goes into your CV is what sort of experience do you have? So your education, a lot of times when you're schooling, you probably have an internship that you did. So it's just basically to speak about yourself. It doesn't have to be, oh, I worked here or I worked here. Maybe as you're a student, you're part of this society, you built these projects, or just to show that you can do things. And you have like should I call it the educational experience or some skills that will help you as you're doing your master. So it's not necessary, because a big number of my classmates actually didn't work before doing the master. It's just, but you'd find they have internships. And of course, the master will also tell you these are the things you're probably going to learn. So these are the prerequisites that you need. So for example, for me, it was a good thing to have worked, because it showed there's this information, this skills in cybersecurity that I've gained before I got here. So I can prove at least my electrical engineering and my cybersecurity lead me to this course. So work experience would probably make sense for someone who's probably in a very unrelated field. So maybe you did, I don't know what is
So, for in short, what we're trying to say, if you're doing like a change of this change of profession.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. So it makes sense. Like you can prove, I'm doing, like you're saying, I'm doing a master in cybersecurity because this is how I think. It's aligning. Yeah.
You know, I think I should try to be getting a master's in media and mass communication. Now that I'm doing this whole podcasting thing.
You have the experience.
Oh, you see, if I'm to take you one step back, we have mentioned that you need your CV and you probably need a letter from a university, say you were top 10, right? But then what other documents did you submit in the exception of essays, because we have a special part for that? What other documents did you submit to support your application? So that as somebody is thinking about making the application, they at least have a clear picture of what is expected of them.
Okay. So we've already mentioned the CV. So think about that. You're going to need your bachelor's degree itself. So if you've graduated, you're going to need the degree, but a lot of courses will tell you if, say, you're just finishing your degree, you can get a letter from your school that's saying you will be finishing the degree in this amount of time. Then you're going to require transcripts. So according to the course, as I said again, it's according to consortium. They'll tell you either official or unofficial. So some will ask the school to send the transcripts, but most of them will just have you sending the transcript themselves. Then, because Erasmus is a course that's all over the world, if you are in a country that doesn't speak English, they're going to ask you for a translation of those things. So the bachelor's degree and the transcripts. So if you're in a country, for example, maybe you did the degree in English, but the country itself has a different language as a national language. So the CV comes, the degree or the transcripts come in a different language. You're going to have to translate those to English. Or, for example, if you're going to a country like France, they were saying English or French is fine because they understand both. Then you're going to need a proof of English language proficiency. I know I can say that I have been learning English my whole life, but most of these courses, unless you're from the countries that are known to be English speaking, so US, UK, maybe Canada, most of the other countries, they're going to ask you to do an English test. And this was the first thing that I actually did because it needs time for preparation. You need to book time. You need to book it and do it and then get results. Like it takes maybe a month or two for you to do the whole process. So if you're thinking of doing an Erasmus, it's one of the things that I'd put on the higher list of the things that you want to do. But you'd find most courses will waive the proof of English language proficiency according to maybe the people they've seen. So for example, the course that I did, maybe in 2 years or so, they'd probably waive Kenyan students because they can now see that actually Kenyan students speak English. Because I know there's, for example, South Africa, some other countries in my course were waived the English language proficiency. Then you mentioned these recommendation letters that you're going to require. So for most of them, they require 2 or more. So for example, for me, because I was proving that I'm doing cybersecurity because of both my experiences, I had a letter from my school. So one of my lecturers who taught me a lot of courses, so I thought that was someone who knew me. So I got a letter from my school, but also got a letter from my place of work. Because again, I was also proving cybersecurity. So, and
Sorry, I'm gonna have to cut you short. So how many recommendation letters do I need here?
So a lot of them will say 2 or 3. So for the one that I did, they asked for 2 or 3. There's, because I did 3 applications. So I applied for all the cybersecurity courses that were in Erasmus. So there are 3 applications. So most of them asked for 2 or 3. So for me, for the ones that asked for 2, I got one from my school and another from my place of work. But for the people that asked 3, I also got one from the founder of Kamilimu. So Kamilimu has been a major part of my journey. So I felt that person also knew me and could speak to who I am. So because I was a mentee at Kamilimu, and that's actually how I got into cybersecurity. So as I was a mentee at Kamilimu, that's how I started my journey into cybersecurity. Then I came back to Kamilimu as a mentor. So I could say that this person speaks about who I am. So those were the 3 recommendation letters that you get. Then, of course, because you're going abroad, you're going to need your passport. And as everyone mentioned, it should have like a year or 6 months before, like it shouldn't be expiring tomorrow. Otherwise, how are you going to travel?
Yeah.
Then proof of residency. So a lot of the courses will require you to prove that you live in Kenya. So you can get such letters from school, like saying you're a student and therefore you live there. If you're working, you can get, for example, for me, because I was working, I got that letter from my place of work. It says, oh, this is our employee and they come from this address. And I believe lawyers, advocates could also get you. I'm speaking from a Kenyan perspective. So I believe lawyers or advocates could also get you such letters. Then if you have any other work certificates as well, you could also add them as a thing as part of your application.
This is so comprehensive. I'm almost like, you really know your stuff.
Thank you.
Because to our listeners, sometimes these things can be very confusing because sometimes you might find somebody asking you. I remember during my days when I was an active applicant, I used to be asked for redacted documents or certified documents. Somebody tells you a certified transcript. You don't know even what the difference is. Or a redacted document, or a translated document, or a notarized document. So at least some of these things are standard across. And as you've heard, now you have the liberty to apply to as many programs within Erasmus as possible. I don't know if there's an upper limit, but sometimes I usually say also try to focus on the quality, right?
Yeah. So as you said, collecting these things and probably writing your statement of your personal statement is something that takes time. So if you're applying for 10 courses at the same time, you might not give it the quality that it requires. I know before Erasmus Mundus had an application fee. So when you paid that, it allowed you to apply for 3, but it no longer does. So I don't think there's a maximum to add the number of courses that you can apply for.
I suspect you can read my mind because my next question was about the application fee, but now that is well answered. Now, let me then think about something important to ask you, and this is the essays. I think the first point of contact between you and the selection committee is what you write about yourself. And in very nice, fancy terms, we call it application essays. What is an application essay, and what essays do you have to write when it comes to Erasmus?
So as you mentioned, an application essay will just be you talking about yourself, because you might give your degrees and your everything, but what about these certificates? Like, who are you outside the papers that I'm seeing? So luckily for Erasmus, because I applied for 3 different things, luckily for Erasmus, they just ask you for one thing, a motivation letter. They call it a motivation letter. So they just tell you, we want, according to the course, because I had one that asked for 1,000 words, another that asked for 500 words. So just ask you for a motivation letter. And a lot of times the course itself will tell you what they want. Basically, a motivation letter is just you saying why you are the best person for the course or why you want to do the course. But again, they'll also tell you, write a motivation letter answering the questions. Why are you the best candidate for this scholarship? Why do you want to pursue this scholarship in particular? So Erasmus will just ask you for that. At least the three that I did, they just ask you for that as an essay. The motivation letter, just apart from your papers. Why do you think you're the best fit?
I love our audience to fully benefit from your knowledge. What exactly did you write? Not in the exact handbook, but the shell of it.
Okay, so I could, for example, look at the one that I actually got. So this course that I'm actually doing.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the reasons I was applying for it was because I had mentioned it merged the two things that were my, should I call my background? So the electrical engineering in addition to cybersecurity, it brought that together. And for me, after working for some time in corporate cybersecurity, because I worked in a bank when I was in Kenya, I realized that I didn't want to work in corporate. I wanted to maybe do research. Like in my mind, I was not sure that that's what I wanted to do, but that's what I thought I wanted to do. So when I was writing the letter, I was informing it from the perspective that I want to do this course because, of course, I have all these backgrounds, which I'll talk about. Like what else apart from, oh, these are your qualifications. But it was more about, I took my backgrounds, which was electrical and cybersecurity. And for me, that was a big thing because these are the two things that I like. And these are the two things that I've pursued. And in this course, they come together. And they come together in a way that, because it's almost academia, in a way that's leading me to research. And the main reason I was doing it was because I felt I didn't have the academic background to go into security research because I was doing electrical engineering as my academic before. Mm-hmm. So that was one of the main things for me. Like, why am I doing this course? Because I want to do research and these are my backgrounds and these are the things that I like. And now I want to put them together through your course. But in addition, what am I giving to you? Or I'm giving to you all the skills that you have been building all over your life. And again, as I mentioned, Kamilimu is a big thing for me. And for me, it was also a big thing that I'm coming to get this experience to ensure that other people can also get this experience as well.
You know, all through your application, you've made reference to your mentors and now you're a mentor.
Yes.
So you were mentored and now you're mentoring. What is Kamilimu exactly? And who is a good candidate to be part of Kamilimu?
So I think I feel like I should now look at the website of Kamilimu and look at who is a good candidate. But Kamilimu is a non-profit organization that was founded in Kenya a number of years ago. And it was founded by someone called Dr. Chao Mbogo, who after working in academia, because she was a lecturer at that time, she realized that there's a gap between what students learn in class and what they get in the field. So that's how she founded Kamilimu. And right now, Kamilimu has grown. I think they're in the 9th cohort. The 9th cohort is graduating soon. So for example, for me, I was in cohort 5, which was in 2020, the COVID year. So it was a long journey a long Kamilimu journey compared to other Kamilimu journeys. Okay. But what Kamilimu focuses on, apart from generally what skills it teaches you, are one, because it's focusing on tech-related courses. So it teaches you ICT skills. So I mentioned that's how I started getting into cybersecurity. So you'll find there's a number of ICT skills and they'll find a mentor or mentors from the industry that will give you like an introductory, this is how cybersecurity works. For example, if you choose cybersecurity, web development, what have you. But it also speaks about scholarship awareness, and I give a big, should I say, thanks to them, because that's how, one, I learned how to look for scholarships, and 2, how do I write essays for scholarships, 3, how do you do recommendations, who do you ask for recommendations. So basically just preparing you for scholarships. It also prepares you for professional communication, applying for jobs. So when you're in Kamilimu, you're going to be taught how to do your CVs, you're going to be taught how to do interviews, you're going to be taught, and you're going to do them as well. So it's generally a big, think of all the skills that you require after you're done with uni and you're just getting into the job market or even doing a master. So all these skills that you probably wish you'd have been taught in class. So that's what Kamilimu does for you. So someone who's eligible for Kamilimu is someone who's doing it's not undergraduate really. So basically anything higher education, that's it. So any higher education degree. So you could be doing a bachelor's, they've had master's people. So you just apply for Kamilimu if you are doing any of those, you're basically doing a higher education degree, you're in a tech-related field, it's not necessarily that, oh, you're doing technology, because I've had people that are doing law but are interested in pivoting or looking at how law works with technology. So as long as you feel like you want to use technology in your career, Kamilemu is a good position for you. I think generally that's it. Then it's going to be an application like all others. So they'll ask you for those things, transcripts, or you're going to write a letter of why you think you're a good mentee. And yeah.
You see, I understand we have an international audience, and this Kamilemu might not be accessible to you in your country. Maybe you are listening to this conversation from Asia or somewhere in Western Africa. That you could as well find such organization. For example, I can give you an example. There's Eclavia Foundation. It is in India. So we may find mentors from different parts of the world trying to guide you on how you can make your application. So please check out what is available to you. But the basis of us mentioning Kamilemu is there's a role that mentorship plays in your application, because it is way, way easier to work with somebody who has seen the process all through. So you are going to get a top-down view, and they can help you with a lot of things, including how you're going to write, how you're going to prep your application. And if you may not be able to join an organization, try to get in contact with one or two scholars. You can go check them on socials, get in touch with them. If they can give you some time, of course, they can guide you. But then,
I'm saying just before you go on, that now that you mentioned scholars, I also want to mention that that's a very great resource, because when I was applying, I also just went to LinkedIn and looked for people that have also done similar applications, and they could just give you pointers. These are the things they look out for, or for example, you're having an interview. These are some of the things that you should be preparing for. So don't be afraid, because personally, if someone reached out or they're going to apply for the same master, I wouldn't mind helping them. So don't be afraid to go through socials and ask for.
Yeah, don't die alone. Of course, there are people out there who are willing to help. Now, also this point, we have not mentioned anywhere whether you made an application to your institutions directly, or does the offer coming with Erasmus mean that you have access to the associated partner institutions? So how does it work?
So how Erasmus works is, as I mentioned, it's a consortium of schools. So when you do your application, it's like you're applying for the scholarship and to the school at the same time. So when you write, for example, when I wrote my application, I was applying to my 3 universities at the same time. So when I get acceptance, it's acceptance for both the scholarship and the school. Yeah. So you're just doing that one single application.
Did you have to attend an interview then at any stage?
Yes. But also to mention that apart from the fact that you're applying to the school once, some Erasmus courses will they'll waive the school fees, but will not give you like what they call the fully funded. So we are all just doing one single application, but when they reach back to you, like after you've done the whole process, they will tell you, oh, you've gotten the school fee waiver plus the stipend, or you have just gotten the fee waiver, but it's just one application.
All right. So in case you're listening to this conversation for the first time, of course, this is the Management Diary, where we get to have serious conversations with scholars regarding opportunities. It's not just about scholarship. Of course, we also get to have other conversations regarding career, research, scholarship, and lifestyle. So you may want to check some of others of our episodes. And in case you're listening to this conversation, of course, you're not in the wrong place, and we would like you to be part of our family. So please consider hitting the subscribe button, and if there's somebody you love and care about, please share this conversation with them. They might find it very, very beneficial. We're here with Laurine, and she's sharing how she managed to get into the Erasmus Mundus program. It is actually one of the top programs to be in the world, because having this, I usually say winning a scholarship is one thing. Having the scholarship on your CV is also another thing. And I can attest to that, because during my PhD application, just saying I was a Commonwealth scholar, that was a game changer. So you may want to try and put in some effort. Everybody can get it. Anybody can get it. So please keep trying. Now we're here with Laurine, and Laurine was sharing with us about the interview. So you made your application. Could you please give me the timelines when you made your first contact with Erasmus until the point they got back to you regarding the interview?
Okay, so most Erasmus applications will open between October to January, because ideally you'll be joining in September. So most of them start in September. So between October and January is when the applications are open. So for that time is when, after I realized at that time is when I started doing now collecting the things that you require during the application. So the application, the first phase will require all the documentation and the recommendation letters. So by, I think, end of January, you have most likely already done the application. Then most consortiums will be different, but around February, March, you're going to get an email, or basically they're going to reach back out to you on the next steps. So different courses have different next steps. So because I applied for two that actually got back to me, I'll just share what the two did. So the first one is called CyberMax. It's Applied Cybersecurity, Erasmus Mundus course in Applied Cybersecurity. So this one, they had two interviews. So they had the first interview, which was a technical interview. So you get on and you get a thing that you answer questions. So some mathematics and some programming, but they tell you that you'll be doing, they'll tell you when they invite you, maybe 2 days or to a week before, that you're going to be doing a technical interview at this time. So you get in, do the technical interview, and that's it. So the period you're just doing the technical interview, then they'll get back to you after that. If you pass the technical interview, then you're now going to have a sitting interview with most likely people from the different consortiums, because a lot of them have 3 universities. So you're going probably to have someone from 2 universities or more that will now just ask you the general interview questions, or probably about your experience, why you want to do the course. So generally getting to know you. So that's CyberMax. For CyberRose, the one that I'm actually doing it, so this one is just called Masters in Cybersecurity. You just had one interview phase, and it was not technical because for them, they asked for your documentation before they even ask for your motivation letter. So you just have to pass their academic pass before they ask you to actually write anything to them. So for them, they just had one interview phase. Again, this one was also from the different consortiums. So I had a panel of 2 people. Then again, for them, this is just general questions where you think you're the best for the course. I think when you look at information online on generally how to do an scholarship interview, some of that information is the sort of thing you prepare for.
So there's a technical interview in some parts. And then there's also the normal one-on-one personal interview, right?
Yes. So as I mentioned, because Erasmus is more of a consortium based, so according to the consortium, a lot of them will probably end up having one interview, but according to the consortium, you might end up having like 2, for example, the one that had a technical and a general interview, but you're most likely going to end up having one interview.
Now, you attended 2 interviews, but then you ended up in one program. So at least from now on, now we can narrow down and stick with this one specific program. Cybersecurity. Okay, both were cybersecurity anyway. So then, when did you hear back from them after the interview? And what was the feedback about?
So if we just focus on the program that I am doing, so for them, as I mentioned, they just ask for academic first. So you just do academic only. So transcripts, whatever. If they think you passed the master of what they want, then now they ask you for other things that you require from other people. So recommendation letter, motivation letters. Then when you pass the master for those 2, they now invite you for an interview. So after the interview, it was about 2 weeks to a month. I may have to confirm the date, but 2 weeks to 2 weeks, yeah. 2 weeks after the interview, they'll now get back to you and tell you that, oh, you have been awarded. You're one of the people that have been awarded the scholarship. And as I mentioned, you can have the scholarship that's just a fee waiver, or you could have a scholarship that's fully funded.
Mm-hmm.
Ideally, what they call fully funded. So they'll tell you have been awarded, and probably, because I remember my email had the statistics. So these are the number of people that applied, and these are the people that got the scholarship. Then at that time, it's just all information. Now, before you get the official letters, or this is the letter that actually saying you're getting the whatever do you want to accept. But I think 2 weeks after the interview, they just tell you you're among our people. Then before they now start going, they accept it, get the letters. Yeah.
So, am I correct to assume you are on the fully funded one?
Yes.
So when we say you are on the fully funded scholarship, what exactly do we mean?
Okay. So Erasmus course will, all of them at least, will give you, not all of them, let me not speak for all of them because there's over 100 courses, so I can't speak to all of them.
Mm-hmm.
The course that I'm doing will give you, when you get a fully funded scholarship, they're going to be paying your school fees.
Mm-hmm.
So at least to show your school fees is being paid for. Then they're going also to give you an international health and travel insurance, because this is a mobility program. So you're going to be in different countries. So that's also part of the scholarship that you'll be given. And you're going to be given a stipend. So for all the courses, the stipend is 1,400 euros a month. So, ideally, I'd say that works, but it also depends with the city that you end up in. So, for example, if you end up in Paris, I'm not sure if that is enough for you, because again, rent prices and everything is much, much higher in Paris. But that's generally what the fully funded master means. You're going to be getting your school fees paid, insurance, and this stipend.
So technically, because we are coming down to deconstruct this whole funding thing. So you mean it is standard, you guys are going to part with £1,400 per month, euros per month throughout your program, right?
Yeah.
How long does this program last?
So, as I mentioned, they're 1 year and 2 year masters. So I'm doing a 2 year masters. So this 1,400 per month is for the whole 2 years, which is 24 months. So for the whole 24 months that you're part of the degree.
Now, talk me through this, because when I was coming to the UK, I told everybody I'm going to come back a millionaire. I don't know how I'm doing so far. I will go check my bank account. But
Okay.
Sometimes it can be different with what you expect vis-a-vis what is happening. In Kenya, we say kwa ground. For our international audience, it simply means what is actually happening in real terms. So before you came to Europe, you had your own perspective. I don't know if it has changed, but then the £1,400, now help me break it down, because there's one very important thing, and you will help me understand who arranges this, called accommodation. In the UK, accommodation and nightmare are supposed to be in the same sentence, because it is not easy for you to just walk out there and find accommodation. It is a very difficult process, and it's very expensive. I don't know how it has worked now that you've been already to, is it 2 countries, right?
Yes.
Now, having been to these 2 countries, who arranges your accommodation, and how does that match your stipend?
Okay. So I think now is a good time to actually mention what university I was in. So I was in a university called University of South Brittany. So this is in Brittany, France, which is a place to the west. So the town I ended up was a small town. It's still a city, but it's a small city. So for 1,400 a month, you're able to work with it, because rent is maybe 30% or less of what you're given. But As you mentioned, most places looking for houses is a nightmare. And for at least for my course, I'm not sure about all the other consortiums with Erasmus, but for my course, you're not being given aid in finding accommodation. So what they told us, or what they recommended, was you book some sort of temporary accommodation, and they give you either use Airbnb or there's a hostel, which they give like the information to us, but they tell you to book temporary accommodation for like a week or two. Then you're going to start looking for the accommodation yourself. So the town I was in is called Laurine in France. So I would say finding accommodation in Laurine was not too hard, because I booked temporary accommodation for a week. And by the time the week was done, I already had accommodation. So it wasn't too bad. But we are moving to Brussels, which is the capital. And I can tell you that finding a house there is a nightmare.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did this play down?
So we'll be moving to Brussels in September. Ideally, the people that are going to Brussels and others going to Luxembourg. So again, your stipend does not change. So ideally, now it means either you need to have saved or basically know how to plan your finances, because now you're moving to a town where the rent prices are twice because ideally the rent prices are almost twice what they used to be where I'm from. And the school does not help you look for accommodation. They just give you, for example, these are the places where you can look for accommodation. So you have to do that yourself.
But your target institution are communicated prior. In fact, when you get the offer, you already told you're going to be in A, B, C, D at time X, Y, Z.
Yes. So when you're applying for these courses, for Erasmus, for example, if I'm applying, for example, for specifically this course, I know I'll be going to, all of us will be starting in this place in France. Then we'll go for 2 weeks to Estonia. So, for example, the Estonia one, because it was 2 weeks, the school helped arrange accommodation, because now we didn't have time to actually get to Estonia and start arrange accommodation for just 2 weeks. So for that, the school helped us with that. But you are told when you're applying, because my course had specializations. You just know, because I'm specializing in Internet of Things. When I get to the second year, I begin to Brussels in Belgium. And they'll be telling you this are the rent prices. This is what you expect to be using. There's people that are doing software will be going to Luxembourg, which is more expensive than Brussels. So you'll be told these are the places at this time you'll be going to this particular place.
Now that we are talking about money, I wanted to remind our audience about White Payments Limited. Please consider checking the first link. You will understand how you can transfer money internationally. That is from any country. Maybe you are in Europe, you are in the UK, you are in the US. You want to transfer money to Africa, to Asia. Check White Payments Limited. The link is in the first comment and you'll find the best rates. I promise you, because I actually use Wise. Now, you see, having been through all this, we have not talked about what else happens to is it 70% of the money? And there are other expenses that match up. You are a student, you want to have fun, of course, travel. I really hope you've traveled. So you want to have fun, at least travel. And then you also want to eat well, you want to have good health, and there are a lot of things, entertainment and stuff. So is this remaining portion of the money enough for you to live off a comfortable life? Comfortable.
Speaking from the perspective of France, because that's where I have lived, at least for around 8 months. So from the perspective of France, this is actually quite helpful. I would say France is very welcoming to students, because when you get to France, one, you can apply for what they call carte vitale. It's basically like a social security card, which works as your health insurance. So as a student, you get that. Because you just get there as a student, because you got in and you're there. You just apply for it and you get it. So at least for your healthcare, most of it is covered, because Carte Vitale covers 70% to all of the medical expenses that you require. So when you go to hospital, you just take your green card. It's a green card actually. Just take your green card and you'll be fine. So that's health. In addition, France also has something that's called housing help. I'm trying to translate it, but housing help. So also as a student, you can apply to what France call departments. It's almost like a district. You can apply, and after you've gotten your accommodation and you have the contacts and everything, and you get aid. So you might be paying, for example, 500 euros of rent, but the government helps you pay 100 euros. So you're paying 400 euros. So you'll pay the 500, but they give you back 100 euros. So France will also have that. So France has at least your health insurance, is covered, and you might get some aid in terms of rent. In terms of what other thing that goes on, in terms of at least getting food, I'd say the amount is sufficient. At least for the place that I was in, food was not expensive, so that was fine. And there's also a lot of aid by different societies. So I remember when you got in, there was a particular society that every week on Thursday you just go, they give you food as long as you register. In the school itself, you'd find vegetables put somewhere because they got it from a farm, and if you want some, you can take some. And there's also places that give you subsidized food just close to the school. So you can go there, get food, but at a subsidized price. So in terms of food and basically living, in terms of things like food, I'd say you'll be fine, at least in France, because I've lived there. It's manageable. So say you spend your 500 euros in rent, you still have about 900 euros, then spend maybe 200 euros of it on food. And traveling is cheap within Europe, because when you're in France, you also have a Schengen visa.
Yeah, I can really agree with that. Okay, although it's debatable what we call cheap. It's
yes.
It's debatable.
No, you're not translating the money back to Kenyan shillings or whatever your country is.
Yeah. So,
but
based on the amount of funding that is provided, it is actually affordable, cheap, right?
I think I'm specifically saying for France and the city that I was in, because different cities will have different opportunities. I know generally for at least you eating and maybe health insurance, you're fully covered. I think it just depends how high is your rent, and therefore how much do you have remaining to do other things. But I'd say generally it's livable, unless all the time that you're in the Erasmus, you're in the big cities all through. So you came from Paris, then you went to Brussels. So that might be a little hard for you, might not have maybe enough to travel as much as you want to, or enough to save, because rent prices are higher, things like that are higher. But generally, I'd say as a student, Europe is also welcoming to you, because it's going to subsidize transport, it's going to subsidize this and this, so you're going to be fine. I think 1,400 should be fine.
Speaking about traveling, before you came to Europe, you needed something called a visa. And for most of these countries, you need a visa to travel to another country. Now, for you to get this visa, there are things that are required. There are payments that you need to make. How was your visa application process arranged? Who paid for the visa? When did you start this process? And how was it?
Okay, so once you get your acceptance and you sign and you accept that you actually want to be a part of the master, they're now going to send you documentation that you require. So this documentation will be your acceptance letter, because you need this when you're applying for your visa. And if you're getting a scholarship, they're going to give you a scholarship certificate that basically says they're going to be giving this amount of money per month. Then you're going to also get I mentioned that they give you health and travel insurance, so you're also going to get that they're going to give you. Then some depends with the consortium. They'll also help you have a proof of accommodation, because for most of us, like when you're applying for the visa, they require you to say that this is where I'm going to live. So according to the university, some of them will help you how to find that accommodation, or others will just have to book accommodation beforehand and find out later. But at least for this course, they give you a letter also that says you're going to be living at this place for this amount of time. Then they're going to help you find long-term accommodation. So when you're applying for the French visa, because now I was applying for the French visa because France was my first country. So ideally, that's the visa that I'll be looking for. So when you're applying for the France visa, those are the things that you're going to require. So you're going to require all this documentation that I mentioned. But France also has something called Études en France, basically study in France. So ideally, if you're going to study in France, you're going to go through Campus France. It's called Campus France, if you've ever heard of Campus France. So if you're going to study in France, you're going to go through Campus France. They can help you look for courses and such things. But because you applied in a different route, you're just going to have to now upload your acceptance. So there's a procedure that goes to Campus France. So upload your letters and everything to Campus France. Then you're going to have actually, I'd call it an interview, but it's more of an introduction with the Campus France person because you already got acceptance. So you're just going to meet them. It's ideally like if you're going to be doing an interview for a visa, but because you already have it, it's more of this person just proving that you're fine. Like you're real. So you're going to upload your documents, then have someone go to a Campus France office. For Kenya, that will be in Alliance Francaise in Nairobi, but and not all countries have the Campus France procedure. Other countries have different procedures. So you'll go to, but the school will tell you. So immediately you get to wherever, they'll be like, oh, you're in Kenya, so you're supposed to be following the Études en France procedure. So the first thing is reach out to this person or to this email. So they introduced the people from Kenya who got the scholarship, at least for France, to the Campus France. So when you go to Campus France, you're going to upload the documentation again. So transcripts, degree, basically the things that are proving that you are a student and you're going to be doing this and this particular thing. Then you'll have sort of an interview. So when I went, it was more of just getting to know you. It's not really to prove. It's not sort of like the interview, the thing you should be afraid of. It's more of, oh, so you are this person, you did your degree here. And basically the guy is at least the Campus France person that I found is actually nice, would guide you. So if you get to France, do you know how you're going to get to the city that you're going to and things like that. So when you do the Campus France procedure, they write you a letter that's like a stamp that now goes to the embassy. So you finish Campus France and now you go to the embassy. For the embassy, you're just going to take biometrics. But again, it's also, as the school says, you do it as early as possible because sometimes these procedures take long and you want to get to school before school starts. So immediately you get, because I think we got the letter in June around or earlier, immediately you get it to just start the process so that however long it takes, at least to assure you, if you're getting it in time for your traveling and your planning purposes. So anyway, so once you're done with Campus France, it's like they write a letter that says, basically it's like a stamp that says, oh, we already did the interview with this person and whatever. Then that goes to the embassy. So when you go to the embassy, we're just going to give the documents. France really likes papers. So you're going to give the documents themselves, like the paper documents, and then you're going to take biometrics. And that's it for the embassy. But when you get there, you're going to have to pay 50 euros if you're in a Campus France country. So for example, Kenya is a Campus France country, so you're going to be paying 50 euros. If you're in a non-campus, okay, I shouldn't call it Campus France, but Études en France. If you're not in such a country, you're going to be paying 99 euros. But that's paid when you get there, like it's not paid beforehand. So you get there, you do the things and you pay the money.
And who facilitates? Is this money coming out of your pocket or is it sent to you by?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay. At least you have to meet one or two expenses.
Yes.
Now, I'm a very ambitious person. I usually like saying that because it helps me position my next question better. When I come to Europe, I want to live with a Maserati. Is it a Maserati or a Lambo? A very nice, decent car and apartment somewhere in the capital. If it's Kenya, of course, we're going to say somewhere in Upper Hill. I'm going to have offices and apartments in Kilimani. To do that, I need money. So when I'm coming to Europe, I want to work as hell. While I study, I also want to make money. This is very closely related to your visa, because the visa can be saying something else. And also your funding organization can be saying something else. So tell me, do you have any restrictions as to how long can you work? Or you're going to work like crazy until you make all this money?
Okay, so when you come to France, so for example, if you're coming with a course that like an Erasmus, because it's in different countries, going to be getting as a visa, the student visa, but it's going to be called student visa in mobility. Basically that you will be moving somewhere else, but it just works as any other student visa. You're allowed 20 hours per week or 964 hours, because they give you the big number for the whole year. So either 20 hours per week or in general 964. I might have to confirm the real digits themselves, but 964 hours a year. Basically 60% of what the French, generally a French person will be working on, someone who's working in France. But again, when I looked at the site, if you're coming from Algeria, that's 50%, not 60%. But you're allowed to work for almost half the time of what another person works, but you're paid according to a particular level. So 20 hours, it might not be enough to get your Maserati, but you're going to make some money with it. Okay. Yeah.
So Erasmus has no restriction on how much or whether you should work or not, and the only restriction come from the country.
Yes. So Erasmus itself, the course itself will tell you that this is a fully funded, full-time program, which means you might not get the time to work, but it does not restrict you from doing it. So it's just a student visa that will tell you this amount of time. So ideally, because you're on a scholarship, you have a number, you should be attending almost all classes, like unless it's a situation where maybe you're sick or something like that. But ideally, you should be attending almost all your classes. So the course itself just requires you to attend all your classes unless you can't really. So if you can attend all your classes and be a good student, perform well, and also work, up to you. But from experience, at least from the course that I did, it reaches a time where you're from 8 to 6, you're in school. So like, if you can imagine that at 6, you still want to go and work, and at 8 a.m. tomorrow, you're still in school. Sometimes it's a lot. Yeah.
You know, I was just gearing up to ask you if that is possible, but now it looks like you've answered the question before I asked it. So now, it means I'm going to ask you the next one. Now, you are in France. You went to Estonia. The next you're going to, is it Luxembourg, right? Belgium. Are you going to have to apply for different visas in each case, or does your visa cut across all the 3 countries?
So for the course, because when you applied, they knew you're going to all the countries. So you're just going to have that one visa that you started with, that's going to take you through the whole time. It's just that, for example, when you apply, the specific department that I was in just gives you 1-year visa. So you have to renew it. So the first year, for example, when you go to Estonia, it's in the Schengen region. France is in the Schengen area, so it's not a problem. You're just going there for 2 weeks. So you just go to Estonia. But now Belgium, because you'll be there for longer and it's almost after a year, you just need to renew your previous visa, like the visa that you got as you started. But the school again also gives you a particular document that says you can stay in Belgium, but there's no start of new application. You just renew what you had.
What were you doing when you received this final, we call them, I don't know, when you get rejected, we call them love letters. So I don't know what we call this one. But then let's call it a love letter either way. What were you doing when you received this letter saying, you don't want Laurine, you don't have the Erasmus? What exactly were you doing? before you got this letter?
I was actually at work.
Okay.
So, but when I was applying, I was still working because this application, you're doing it in March. I ended up leaving work in around August, just before I left. So I was at work. Then you see when you take the break and you say you're going to the washroom, and I was like, okay, let me look at my phone. Then you look at your phone and you see, there's an email that says, you're like, I don't want to read this email because it was not the first application I've done, of course. So you're like, you've read these emails and some of them are love letters, and you don't want to get a love letter in the middle of the day because you're not going to continue working.
Yeah.
So I was like, should I read it? Should I not? Should I read it? Should I not? So I postponed it, like it was in the back of my brain, but I knew I needed to read an email.
Mm-hmm.
But during my lunch break, I did read the email and it was good news. So of course, at that time, I think the first people that come to your mind are your close friends or family. So my mom was the first person to be called.
Great.
Yes. But it was the sort of like when you're reading and you're like, am I sure?
Is this
was
exactly what I was expecting?
Yes.
I know that's a feeling because sometimes you might even be like, is this really me?
Yeah.
Because now that's when it starts actually hitting. That is something that you've been doing out of, let me try. It's now actually, here is the offer.
Yeah.
And now you start imagining and figuring out things. I like to assume the next day you went and told your boss, you know what, just stay with your job now. I'm leaving, right? Then went on to a parting spree. Or was it different?
It was different because I got the letter in, I think, May or June, and I stayed there till August. So I had a good working relationship with my bosses. So I went and informed them that now I'll be going to school from September. So I'm going to be working till around this time. So at that time is when they now start looking for someone who's going to be replacing you. Because by the time I left, I had already trained someone else to be doing what I'll be doing. So it was this happy moment. Yes. I'm leaving the country. I got a scholarship and everything. But it was also, what about this other few months? Because for Erasmus, what I should mention is you're given your money when you get there. Like it's not sent to you. So that means you getting to France, you applying for your visa, you, I don't know, staying in the temporary accommodation for the few weeks that you're looking for your real accommodation. It's coming out of your own pocket because you've not been given the money yet. So that means you're not just going to quit because now how are you going to get to France?
How are you going to survive, right? Now, tell me about your departure then. So everything is all set. Everything is good. You've told your close friends, maybe I don't know if you decided to broadcast this on TV. You will tell us.
Yeah.
Like everybody now knows Laurine is now off to France. So you departed to somewhere. You are going to tell me that. And you had to get flights arranged and stuff. So can you please tell me first how these flights were arranged? And now, where did you depart to and where did you land on the other side?
Okay. So as I mentioned, Erasmus does not arrange things for you. They just need you to get there. Then they'll give you the money when you get there. So that's planning. That's up to you. So since I got the letter, you go to the sites that monitor flight prices and start looking at flights. But unfortunately, my visa took longer than expected to get to me. So I didn't want to make any concrete plans without having the visa. So I ended up booking it maybe 2-3 weeks before I had to travel because that's when I got my visa. But the procedure was just how you'd book a normal. It was my first outside the country flight. Yeah. So there was like the excitement that comes with it, but just the normal all went through different sites. So I went through different sites looking for the best price that I could get. And so for us, the city that we are in is a small town. So there was no direct flight to our city. So a lot of us had to land in Paris. So ideally, it's like you're looking for a flight to Paris. So I ended up having a connecting flight. So I landed in Dubai for like an hour, then now came to Paris. Then from Paris, you had to take a train, now from Paris to your own town. And that's where I learned what being an independent person means. Because with your luggage, now you have to move yourself from the airport to the train.
Yeah, so I didn't see you in Paris and everybody's like, Mademoiselle, comment ça va? Welcome to France. That's the 1, 2, 3 French that I know. I don't even know what I've said if it's even correct. But I understand your program is taught in English. But at least you can't hold a gun to everybody in France that you guys should be speaking English. So France and you are Kenyan, and Kenya are two completely different countries. What culture shocks did you experience upon getting that side? And how did you go about it?
Okay. So the first thing that I just mentioned was should I call it hyper-independence? So fortunately, I did French way back in high school. So I had some knowledge. I was not fluent in any way. I'm still not fluent in French, but I can speak some things. So when I got to the airport, and most airports, because they expect international people who have all signs that are in all the languages. So you have English and everything, and people will speak to you in English. So when I got there, I needed to get to the train station, which was not in the same place as the airport. So first thing I did was find out how do I get from point A to point B. And it was like, you need to take this metro, then change. And it was like, I have 3 suitcases, I'm not doing this. So I ended up taking a taxi to the train station. So I got to the train station and have my 3 large suitcases because I'm Kenyan and my parents want to give me all the food that I will not get in Europe. So I land to the train station and the guy leaves me. The taxi they remove my suitcases and leave me at the entrance. So, for example, when at that time, I thought if I was back in Kenya, the person...
They would carry everything too.
Yes. Or even ask me, how am I getting that? But I just left my suitcases. So I have my 3 suitcases. I have, I can say this is the train station, but I have no idea what I should be doing. So ended up having to drag my suitcases on an escalator and getting to the train station itself. But again, it's like everyone is minding their own businesses. In Europe, everyone knows what they're doing. It's not like back home where you can go ask this person. And again, you don't speak French. So you try speaking English, they don't understand what you're saying. So it was sort of difficult.
Yeah.
You have Google Translate. Thank goodness for that. So you go type what you want to say to Google Translate and it tells you what you should be doing. But I think the first thing that hit me was I'm not sure if hyper-independence is the word for it, but I feel like back home, people would easily help you in random situations. Like the taxi guy would probably get me into the train station. When I got to the train station, somebody will see me standing there for 2 hours and be like, "Are you okay, madam?" And then when I got to the train, you get on with all your luggage. It's up to you because it's your luggage. So you have to carry all your luggage to the train. You have to put it in the luggage section by yourself.
And that's not
Yes. So that was a bit of a shock because I didn't expect that. But I really liked how, from the get-go, how public transport worked really well. Because the train was supposed to leave at this time, and at that time, the train was leaving. I was supposed to reach at this time, and at that time, the train arrived. But again, now there's the rush because it gets there and it stays there for 2 minutes, which means I have to remove all my 3 suitcases and be out of the train
as quickly as possible. Otherwise, you're going to meet some of your luggage is going to stay back there. And that's going to be another process, right?
Yes.
Okay. All this time we've been talking, I've actually been thinking, do you even get to experience social life when you are on that side?
In France, okay. So what really helped for us is we are a class of 40 people. who all speak English.
Oh, okay.
So unfortunately, this means that for most of us, we really didn't get to make friends outside our group of people, because in the university that you're in, you'd find maybe your lecturers, a lot of the lecturers will be speaking English, so that's okay. And your classmates are speaking English, and it's also a new experience because you're meeting people from different countries. So it's good you're making new friends from different places, but it also means the rest of the students in the university, especially doing undergraduate, whatever, they're doing it in French. They only maybe speak English during English classes or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'd say social life, especially if you don't speak the language, would have been very difficult. But because we had the landing pad of all these other 40 people that you met, that was good. But again, for me, I'm a very sporty person. So I did like 3 different sports and I could speak some French. So that's how I ended up with at least a social life outside. But I'd say a lot of our social life as a people revolved around each other, like the classmates, because at least we could speak the same language.
It's interesting because I was having a conversation with a Nigerian friend, and they were telling me about all this looking for Nigerian food in a different country, and it's never an easy experience because you're going to try finding things until you actually have to accept that this is the new normal, right?
Yeah.
Now, Laurine, I've been listening to you for quite some time, for over an hour, and somebody just decided to join our family by subscribing to our channel now has also been listening to you for this whole 1 hour, and they want to make their application now to the Erasmus program. Of course, Erasmus is not only in France. At least you should know that. There are very many other countries, and you can go get all the necessary information on the website. We'll also leave the link to the website in the description of the video. But then I would love to get in touch with Laurine and at least get to know more about you, what happened then after this, and just by the way, what arrangements are there for you as scholars after you've finished your program?
I'd say Erasmus is more of we sort yourself out. But so when you're done with school, at least I know for France specifically, you can get an extension of your visa for 1 more year to look for work. But ideally, Erasmus does not tell you have to go back home. So if you get a job here, that's fine. And at least for our course, the last 6 months are a thesis internship. So you'll be working somewhere as you're writing your thesis. So if that company works well for you, you could continue with them. But otherwise, if your visa expires, you get an extra year on your visa just to look for work. But you're going to have to prove funds to be able to live in France. Okay. So there's that. Yeah.
So how do I connect with you then?
So I think the easiest way to be connecting with me will be through LinkedIn. So in LinkedIn, I'm Laurine Owino, my names. Yeah, so that will be the easiest way to get.
We'll leave the link to her LinkedIn in the description of the video. Please check it out, get in touch with her, even give a shout out to her just to tell her how nice she has presented this conversation, because I have been listening to this conversation and I can tell you for sure, if you are planning to make an application, at least you have all the necessary information you need to make a successful application. But I'm sure Laurine has something to say to you as a parting shot. So what would that be, Laurine?
I think one thing that ultimately comes to mind is don't be afraid to make the applications, because I know I've met people who think, oh, maybe this is not the best opportunity for me, or it's meant for other people. It's not meant for other people. It's meant for you. I think that's the first thing that comes to mind. Why this comes to mind is when I got the scholarship, we had the EU ambassador. She invited us to her residence, just the scholars, just to have, to congratulate us and tell us, oh, you're going, meet us. And she said, there's a number of scholarships, but for example, Kenyans are not applying for them. Like the scholarships are there, but you're not applying for them. So this is not just specific to Kenyan people, but generally anyone. Don't be afraid to apply for the opportunity. It's meant for you. It's not meant for some other group of people somewhere else.
Yeah.
As long as you feel you meet the requirements, just make the application. Don't be afraid to do it.
I won't spoil it by adding anything else. So that was Laurine Owino, and this is the Management Diary. I'm your host, Omai Jose, and I was just about to say bye-bye, but then I would like to remind you that you can join the Management Diary family by hitting subscribe. So please hit subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll get to see you on the next one. Bye-bye.